Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. So I, 28 female, got engaged last year and have been planning my wedding for what feels like forever. I'm getting married this November. My fiancé and I have had everything booked and locked in for months, including my dream venue, which I reserved early this year. Now, my younger sister Sarah, 24 female, got engaged in April. She's been with the guy for like 6 months, maybe 7 now. Out of nowhere, she announced they were getting married this November too, just 2 weeks after my date, which, whatever. I thought it was a little weird and rushed, but I said congrats and moved on. She's always been competitive with me, like since childhood. And our parents, especially my mom, never really put a stop to it. She's the type that has to have her own moment, and if I'm having one, she needs to have one slightly louder. You get the idea. Anyway, while I've been planning this wedding for years, she's just winging it. No savings, no job. Neither does her fiancé. And zero plan. So my mom, being my mom, started hinting that I should help pay for parts of her wedding. I shut that down real fast. After that, the messaging switched to, maybe tone yours down a little. You don't want her to feel overshadowed. I said nope. I'm not making myself small because she is doing this completely unprepared. Now here's where it gets crazy. Yesterday, I got a call from my venue. The manager calls asking to confirm if I really do need to cancel the booking and if I really send someone to cancel it for me. I literally froze. I told her no, I definitely still want the booking and I never authorized anyone to cancel anything. The manager said, "That's what I figured. Something felt off. A woman and a younger woman came in, claimed they were you, but the email and phone number didn't match. When I asked for ID, they said they forgot it. It was weird. I asked if they gave names. She said the younger woman called herself me and the older one gave my mother's name. So yeah, it was my mom and sister. I immediately called my mom. She picked up all the casual things like, 'Hi honey,' I said. 'Did you go to the venue and try to cancel my booking?' Dead silence. Then, 'We were just there asking questions.' I told her the venue called me. They said you tried to cancel it. My mom had the audacity to say, 'Well, we thought since everything's so extravagant, maybe you'd want to scale back. Sarah doesn't want to feel like her wedding is just an afterthought. You already got the experience of planning a wedding. Sarah hasn't.' Like I should hand her mine because I've already had my turn. Then my sister got on the phone in full tantrum mode. 'You're being selfish. You knew I didn't have a venue and you picked the nicest one around. What am I supposed to do? Get married in a gym?' I told her, 'That's not my problem. You rushed into an engagement with zero plans. I'm not responsible for fixing that. Besides, you can't afford that.' They both kept going on about how people will compare the weddings and how hers will look sad if mine is too fancy. My mom even said, 'Would it kill you to just have a smaller ceremony at the park?' At the park. After I dropped thousands on this venue, I booked a caterer, DJ, everything. I told them I'm not canceling. I'm not changing anything. If she feels overshadowed, that's on her. You don't get to sabotage my wedding because she's unprepared. And the next time they try to pull something off like this, I'm calling cops." Now they're both playing victim. My mom's texting me stuff like, "You've always had more than her." Maybe because I strived hard in life, got an actual education and landed a job. Whatever. My fiancé is furious. My dad, they're divorced, said he's not surprised and offered to cover security if I want it. Which honestly, I might. This is crazy, OP. Both your mother and sister are assholes. And your mom should be ashamed of herself. As a parent, how could she help one child sabotage another? How could she bear to see anyone mess with your big day? I understand wanting both children's weddings to be great, but intentionally sabotaging yours by trying to cancel your venue so your sister's wedding has a chance of competing is evil. I'm sorry you're going through this, and I would advise you take your dad up on the offer for security and uninvite your sister and mother if you can. They don't deserve to be at your wedding. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for breaking off my engagement over his father's racist remarks? Hello everyone. I have been with my now ex-fiancé for just about 4 years and recently broke off our engagement due to his parents' racist remarks at a restaurant. We were to be married in June of this year. To make a long story short, we met at a work conference in 2015 and maintained a long-distance relationship. He lived in CA, I lived in NC, and made it work. We got together for about a week every 2 months or so, and during this time, I met his family, and he subsequently met mine when we were in each other's towns. There were no red flags, not even a hint of how racist his parents really are. I ultimately found this out a few weeks ago. Me, him, and his parents were out to dinner a few weeks ago, and this little boy, who must have been around 6 years old or so, accidentally tripped our waitress, resulting in dropped plates and food getting all over his mother and father. I had never seen such a dramatic shift in mood, but my future father-in-law stood up and started spewing a lot of hateful remarks about people of other races. I'll spare you all the details, but it was extremely vile and disgusting stuff. People started recording on their phones. It was a huge scene that left me very embarrassed and ashamed to be there. What makes matters even worse was that my mother-in-law did not disagree with him. She sat there nodding her head in agreement. My fiancé didn't say anything. He just sat there. He did not acknowledge what his father said, but the fact that he just let it go and didn't stand up to him was very telling. The day after this incident, I drove over to his house and broke off our engagement. Understandably, he was very upset, and naturally we had a big argument, which I'm sure the neighbors heard. I know he didn't say anything at dinner, and I asked him point blank, "Are you a racist?" He did not answer, only turned away. I'm not sure what that meant. I had absolutely no idea his family was like this, and a big life lesson I've learned is to spend more time with a partner's family before making any decisions. I simply can't be with someone whose family harbors so much hate. The apple doesn't drop far from the tree. What conflicts me is that his family paid for the entire wedding, everything from the venue to the dresses to the food to the decorations. Personally, I don't come from a lot of money and would have been happy with a nice backyard wedding. But I know they spent a lot, which makes me feel terrible. Does this make me an a-hole? I would go with everyone sucks hero P. Your in-laws suck for obvious reasons. The dad is an a-hole for being racist and going off on the waitress and the boy the way he did. His wife sucked for just sitting there and nodding in agreement with him. Your ex-fiancé sucks for not telling his parents to stop or doing anything to de-escalate the situation. If he was truly appalled by his parents' behavior, he wouldn't have sat there for it. And finally, you suck for the way you ended things with your fiancé of 4 years. It's understandable if racism is a deal breaker for you. It should be, but you could have made an effort to talk to him about this first instead of immediately throwing in the towel. Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. The apple can actually fall far from the tree. You didn't see that behavior anywhere in the last 4 years with him. Did you stop and call out this behavior? Because you can easily make the argument that, based on your criteria, you and your fiancé are just as bad. I would be pretty effing offended if someone who knew me that well asked me a question like that too. Not the a-hole. It's always a bit disorienting to see posts about race on this sub, because it reminds me how right-wing Reddit is. If racism is a deal breaker for you, then it is in your best interest not to marry into this family. These are the people who you are going to have to put up with for the rest of your life. These people are going to have access to your children and will be able to impart whatever values they want to them. If you don't want to have to worry about deprogramming your children every time they come back from grandma and grandpa's house, then don't marry into this family. Everyone sucks here. He should have warned you beforehand that his family has extreme views. Maybe he was ashamed or embarrassed to tell you beforehand. You're the a-hole because you immediately broke things off without having a conversation. And you asked him if he was racist. You've known him for 4 years, and you really don't know the answer yourself? Furthermore, especially in this day and time, it is not uncommon for families to have different views on politics, race, and religion. At the very least, have another conversation. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to go to my son's wedding? Throw away. My son has been dating Vanessa for nearly 3 years now. Last weekend, they announced they were engaged. I have never been fond of Vanessa, mainly because she has never gelled with the family due to her general aloof attitude and lack of effort to engage socially. She will often refuse to join in conversations or activities. My son insists it's because she's shy, but I think it's very clear that she believes herself above us. I also strongly suspect she is using my son for his money. She has almost no income. She works as a nanny 2 days a week and spends the rest of the time selling handmade crafts on Etsy or at markets. My son is in a well-paid tech job, and I think she is taking advantage of the fact he's well off. She jumped at the opportunity to move into his nice apartment very early in their relationship because she had been living in an unpleasant house share. There have been other similar instances. My son was at my house a few days after the announcement, and the conversation turned to the wedding. We were discussing venues, and I mentioned our local church. He told me that Vanessa didn't like the idea of having it at church as she wasn't religious. She wanted an outside wedding. I told him that was just impractical. He has several older family members who would not only find the idea of a non-religious outdoor wedding distasteful, but would struggle with the limitations that come with it. Poor seating, lack of proper toilet facilities, bad weather, etc. They said they would figure it out, and it was their wedding, so it shouldn't matter what the rest of the family thought. This is very unlike my son, as I've always taught him to be considerate of others' opinions and the value of family. At this point, I was upset and hurt and told him that I didn't agree with the ideas they had come up with, and I didn't want to put any money towards the wedding like this. My son got angry and told me that they didn't need any financial help. They had savings, and Vanessa was planning to cut costs by making decorations. I said he was going to end up blowing all his savings, and there was no way she would be able to make all the decorations with all the other things she'll be focusing on during planning. So he will end up paying for those too, and they will start married life with a huge debt in his savings, which is just a terrible idea. He then accused me of never supporting his relationship and told me if I wouldn't support his wedding, then I might as well not come. I told him I might take him up on that, as I don't support his attitude, and maybe his own mother not wanting to come to his wedding will help him realize how ridiculous he's being about it. My son has told the family about it. Several people are on my side. My parents and sisters also think he's being impractical and overdramatic. My husband is refusing to get involved at all, but my other son and daughter are angry at me and telling me I'm acting like an a-hole. Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. You're either the narcissist mother-in-law that nightmares are made of, or a total shit poster. I think you shouldn't go to their wedding because you don't seem capable of hiding your detestation of the person your son loves, or ceasing to make demands only motivated by your own selfish interests. They'll have a better wedding without you. You're the a-hole. You sound like a monster-in-law. You're probably the reason the poor girl is antisocial around you all. I know my mother-in-law used to make it so she didn't want me there, so I stopped trying. It's their wedding. You won't go because it's not how you like it? You think that doesn't sound like your son? Maybe you don't know your son as well as you think you do. It's possible to plan a wedding and make decor. You're just finding every way to put this poor woman down. You need to work on yourself. Maybe some therapy before you lose that relationship with your son. You're the a-hole for being such a needless drama queen. You don't like Vanessa and are using their wedding to try to control your son. Guess what? He's right. You literally have no say over their wedding. And they don't want your money because they can see it's just a manipulative tactic to insert yourself into their wedding. So you can huff and puff over how Vanessa is wasting your son's savings. You can choose to act like your age and attend their wedding like a dignified mother of the groom. Or you can be known as the narcissist mother-in-law who threw an adult tantrum when she couldn't bulldoze over her son and daughter-in-law. Grow up, lady.